Reiki and praying over my food has been really beautiful. And then when I work out, just like being more in communion with my body when I'm doing it, like when I'm running, I'm like, okay, guys, you ready? Like talking to my cells in my body, like, let's do this. But
what would you do before? Leave your body?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I don't even know. I'll leave my body. Not even
sometimes we would do workout classes, and I do remember you, like, sometimes I'd be like, or I'd like give her a thing, and she'd be like,
dude,
I'm not here.
Completely disassociate.
Yeah.
I was even leaving our workout class this morning, and I had to call my energy back.
Yeah.
Because it's the loud music, it's the high intensity, it's a lot of people. Everybody, most of the time in workout classes that are high intensity or HIIT, leave their bodies.
Yeah.
They really are so out of body. And that's where I've been really thinking about yoga and Pilates, and those slow types of workouts are not only important because they're better for your nervous system, they are much more relaxing, you can be much more intentional, but also you're not leaving your body in the way that you do with HIIT. Because HIIT, you're really like, I can see everyone's energy is just outside of themselves.
Super sympathetic state. Yeah, we want to be embodied, which is what yoga, as you said, is so great for. Are you guys familiar with the 3 pillars of health?
No, I would love to know.
Water, light, and magnetism. So this gets into like mitochondrial health. Mitochondria are, you can never say that any one thing in the body is the most important thing because it's all connected, cooperative system. But mitochondria are like so important for our health, and it's one area of our health we don't give any attention to usually. And when you understand mitochondrial function, it starts to make a lot of sense about why you have health issues and from where they derive. And so mitochondria are basically the tiny little organisms. I think there's thousands of them in every cell of our body that they transport electrons to and from cells, right? So the ATP, the energy, which is chi, right? Prana. So they move the prana through your body and into the cells and tell the energy where to go to work. So mitochondria have something called ETCs on them, electron transfer chains. Those little like tubules you see when you look at like a animation of a mitochondria. They're little green, cute little guys, and they have little tubes on them. Those are the electron transfer chains. So they take electrons into themselves, travel to wherever they need to go, and then they export them out. And there's an amazing book I highly recommend if you want to look into this, called the Mitochondriac Manifesto.
Cool.
It's such a deep dive. It'll change your entire paradigm of health in a way that actually simplifies it, not makes it more complex. You really just have 3 things to concern yourself with. If your water quality, your light quality, and your magnetism are all in top condition, you're thriving. It's impossible for you to have a condition of sickness or disease. Your nervous system, your immune system is firing on all cylinders, right? Obviously, we know that our water supply has been just destroyed every way you can imagine. So it's no wonder there's so many health issues in our country just because we know how poisoned our water supply is. But then you add in the fact that nobody gets sunlight hardly. Everyone's so sedentary and lives indoors. And we had the lockdowns where they told us not to get sunlight, right, by law. And then the 3rd pillar is magnetism, which is basically your electromagnetic energy field, your biosphere. And the quality of your magnetic field is what determines your health, right? And that actually comes from your state of being. Your quality of consciousness will determine the strength, the size, and the efficiency of your electromagnetic energy. And so we've all seen the toroidal field, visuals. There's an energy field that extends outside of us that literally it's every chakra, every energy center has its own biosphere. So it's really like 7 spheres of different colors, kind of cascading outwards. It's really cool. So like when you work on opening the heart chakra, most people just have the first 3 chakras, right? In activation: red, orange, yellow. Those are the primal chakras. Fight or flight, self-defense, identity, personal desires. But when you begin a spiritual path, the first spiritual chakra available is the heart chakra. That's the feminine element. And so you have to get into your heart by opening your heart to creation, right? In love, in unity, in oneness, and start seeing the oneness of creation and loving creation. And the green ray biosphere will extend 5 times farther than the yellow ray, the 3rd chakra, and then the blue, and then the indigo and the violet. So we can increase our magnetism like exponentially just by spiritually awakening and cultivating a high quality, high vibrational state of being. Your energy field is strong and powerful and fortified and efficient, right? So that's the third pillar of health, which is entirely spiritual. And they'll make it physical by saying, oh, you should do lots of grounding. You know, grounding on the earth helps your biosphere. All true. But what we're saying here is like, it doesn't matter how much grounding you're doing, you know, and if you buy a grounding mat and you sleep on it, like a lot of people do, like the external stuff can only go so far if you're not prioritizing the internal stuff, which is the healing, the shadow work, the forgiveness, and then your biosphere can really shine, right? So I just think it's so fun to know that health is actually very simple. And if you wanted to make it as simple as possible, like how do I be healthy? Prioritize the quality of your water, get lots of sunlight, and prioritize your energy field, which really comes back to your state of being.
Yeah, with the sunlight too, we were talking about this yesterday, and there's a lot of spiritual texts that talk about the sun being the place in which we receive codes for consciousness, and that the sun really is what provides us with support in our ascension process and really helps us awaken. There's also a lot of belief around sun beings, that there's beings that live within the sun, that there's beings that come from the sun.
Ra talks about that.
Ra talks about that. And then also that in our solar system that we ascend through the planets basically. So Venus would be the next step. And it's almost like you move closer and closer to the sun, because the sun is like the place of the most light. And if we are light beings and we want to become enlightened, how can we be beings of light?
Right.
So yeah, what about the sun do you think supports our spiritual growth and process?
Oh, I love this question. What a great question. So there's something to be said, obviously, about the pineal gland's relationship to light and solar codes. We know through studies on the pineal gland that sunlight, literally through the eye, sun gazing right in the morning or in the evening when the sun's low on the horizon, gazing at the sun is really good for pineal gland health, producing more DMT. And so it actually activates DMT in the pineal gland to let the sun in, probably because there's light codes, right? But have you guys ever seen like the sun refracting through a window or a piece of glass and you see the color spectrum?
Yeah.
So you see the 7 chakras, right? So in the sunlight inherently is all the energy codes for every chakra, because you see those colors displayed through certain refraction. And so like going back to the mitochondria, we need electrons constantly from the environment. We're in this beautiful symbiotic loving relationship with Mother Earth where literally all of creation gives me life. Without creation, I can't live. We are one. We're indistinguishable in that sense. If the sun didn't shine, I couldn't breathe. You know, if the trees weren't giving off oxygen for me to breathe, like I'd be dead. So the organs outside of me, the trees, the sun, the water, it's just the same as the organs inside of me, right? So we need electrons, which is prana, which is chi, and the earth is constantly donating her electrons to us. That's what grounding is, right? When you step on the planet, you guys know Gary Brecka. He's a kind of Instagram health guru kind of guy. And I saw a video where he was talking about this, where they actually can't even measure how fast the body's charge increases when we touch the earth. The earth has a negative charge, and the negative charge is what's really good for us. It puts us into an alkaline state and stuff. And so if you haven't touched the earth in a while, your electron, the amount and the quality of your electrons will be a lot lower. So, low energy, frequencies lower. And when you touch the earth with your bare feet or hug a tree or something, they can actually measure it with certain instruments in the body. The body's charge will go like that into a super negatively charged state, matching the earth's. And it's like, no matter how much they zoom in on how fast does that charge happen, apparently they literally can't even find out how fast the body charges like that. It's like instantaneous. It's like faster than the speed of light. And
Probably
so
because we are one, like it's like we are the earth. You know what I mean? It's
exactly
almost like recognition of like us being the same.
We came from the earth,
Yeah.
right? So she gives us electrons, and then the sun gives us electrons. So heavy metals, processed food, pesticides, all these things steal electrons. Really bad water quality will zap like the water literally will take electrons from your body and absorb it into the water and then you urinate it out. So you're just dumping electrons out. So as soon as you have a low frequency, you have more entropy in the body, right? Health problems are going to start happening because you don't have the energy required to keep up the harmony of the body. It's slowing down to just like a traffic jam or something, right? When the cars start to slow down, it's because there's too many cars on the freeway and they can't move. Like that's how the body is. The body is meant to be this fast operating, highly intelligent, harmonious system of cooperation. And when we introduce unnatural things, it just interferes with the body's cooperation. And so we think that something called sickness is developing, right? And then we see sickness like this enemy in the body, but it's the body. It's just that you've log jammed the body up so much that it can't do its normal functioning at the rate it needs to. And I think this is why Krista Ra talks about how light bodies from higher densities, 4th and above, they essentially live forever. They never die. They're basically eternal because the frequency that their body is operating at is so fast that like you could chop off their light arm and a new one will grow out right away. You know, light is infinite and has no limitations inherently. So it's like, I want my body to be operating on the highest frequency that it can. And in this 3rd density realm, what's really important to that frequency is electrons. Sunlight, grounding from the earth, structured, negatively charged water will donate a bunch of electrons. I've heard the analogy that if you are driving down the highway and you stick your head out the window for a while or through the sunroof when you're a little kid, it's really fun. But then you notice when you get back in the car, you feel kind of tired and delirious because apparently high winds will strip electrons from your biosphere.
Wow.
Think about like a net passing through and catching electrons in it.
Huh.
Wow.
So you need more sunlight and things and healthy foods. You know, fruit is full of electrons, animal products, vegetables. So when you're in a relationship to light and you understand that light is in everything is light, then it becomes very obvious to you that you would want to get the highest and most natural quality of light, which is from non-processed things, right? When you put food through the processing plants, it strips every good and beneficial thing from the food. So you're basically just eating what's left over is like empty calories that have no nutrition really left in them. And if there is any nutrition, none of it's bioavailable anymore. Like the farther we move from what's natural, you know, and how God created the universe to function, there's always a consequence immediately. Like even with water, we were talking about water before the podcast started. When mankind first had the idea of let's capture water from a system like a stream or river, and let's put it through pipes so it can channel it into our house. Seems like a good idea, but even that, there's a karmic consequence to it, which is that, you know, obviously mankind, when water pipes were first invented, probably didn't know this. Maybe they did though, who knows? But water is structured. Water has to have a certain molecular structure that needs to be harmonious and geometric, right? So that water is information, right? When you drink water from a river stream or a spring, you're getting all the information from the minerals and everything that's in there, and it's very beneficial to your body. But apparently when water goes through 90-degree turns through like a pipe system, there are no 90-degree turns in nature. So that's one step removed from reality for water. So you put it through 90-degree turns and it's like a constant car crash for the water. And so the structuring of the water breaks apart and becomes chaotic. And then you drink it and it's like maybe the water has good stuff in it for your body, but the information medium, which is the structuring, is not at a place where it can deliver that information. So these are things no one really thinks about in terms of the quality of what they're putting into their body, but all of creation is incomprehensibly intelligent and beautiful and harmonious. And I think it's very beautiful to see that the creator built in a kind of karmic structure that says, you can do whatever you want, but if you violate the laws of reality, there will be consequences. And that's what we see, right?
Yeah, I love that just like simple reminder, simple question to self if you're about to consume something, like how far removed is this from how God created it?
Yeah. A great question to ask.
Yeah, it's just a really simple way to kind of check in. I just wanted to ask about like the description of the mitochondria. It's like, okay, so we're talking science here. Mm-hmm. It's like when did it split? Where it's like what you're saying makes sense in order to cultivate an electromagnetic field that is harmonious and powerful. But I guess like where did science and the spiritual split? Because I would think, you know, ideally, right, in a hospital, it would part of the healing process would be to talk about that as well. And I know kind of intellectually what happened, but I guess like, is it, yeah, I guess how do you see that as like so sciencey, so based in science?
Yeah.
And it's very much lost.
And yet your average doctor would have no clue what we're talking about. No clue. Yeah. Like your average Western medicine doctor, it's a tough pill to swallow, but you can literally ask them like, hey, what does vitamin C do in my body? And they'll be like, well, it's good for your immune system. And you'll be like, no, I know, but what does it do? Like, how is it good? What's its function? What's the mechanism? They'll be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you're a doctor that's supposed to know about health. And that's because you guys have heard the phrase, money is the root of all evil. There's a lot of truth to that phrase. The love, the obsession, the desire for money is the root of all evil. Money can be used for beautiful purposes, and it will be as humanity evolves. But up to this point, money, the desire for money has corrupted every system that we see in our world today. And one of the most, if not the most unfortunate, is our healthcare system, in that under that model, health is not profitable and sickness is a boom in business, right? Sickness is where all the money's at. Sickness is the gold rush for the healthcare industry. And so it's just, you know, no one's guilty. No one's an evil, bad, horrible person doing this to humanity. It's just a system that has slowly devolved, right? Through the corruption of a for-profit model. How do we make the most money possible? At some point became the most important question to medical systems, insurances, hospitals, all of it, medical schools. And the Hippocrates sort of approach to health, which is that do no harm, the patient's the most important thing. Your only job is to contribute to their health and do nothing to harm them as a doctor. So that was, the father of medicine said the number one job of a doctor is do no harm. And what do our doctors do today? They're prescribing people drugs that have literally zero health benefits and only health consequences. And I get it. They're taught, right, at their Western medical schools that this is real medicine. These pills help people because they suppress the symptoms, and that's the only thing we need to concern ourselves with. So get out there and go prescribe some drugs. And maybe they think that they're doing a good thing. I'm sure most doctors think they're actually helping people by prescribing these drugs. But at the same time, there is a responsibility, just like with the food you put in your body. Like if you end up getting diabetes or something, and let's say you just didn't really know how bad white processed sugar was until you're in your mid 40s, you could say, well, I didn't know. It's like, that's true. You're innocent in the grand scheme, but there's also an aspect of self-responsibility to everything. Because as we just said, every decision you make in time and space is recorded in the infinite data field of the source. And every decision has a karmic consequence. And from the law of one's perspective, that karmic consequence can only be in one of two directions. There's only two polarities to choose from. So it's either moving towards the positive polarity of unity and oneness with creation, or towards the negative, separation from the universe. Neither one's right or wrong, but they have very different consequences. So while it's no one's fault that these things happen in that sense, we do have a sense of self-responsibility to maybe look into what I'm putting into my body and just double check if it really is good for me, or if I might be actually damaging my body by what I'm putting into it without knowing it. I mean, that'd be something I want to know. So the same responsibility, I think, rests on the shoulders of Western medicine doctors. While I have full forgiveness for everyone, for everything, that's my path. But at the same time, you have a responsibility to your patients to do no harm. And so you should be really interested to double, triple check and not just take it from secondhand from what your teachers told you in school, but actually look into it. What do these chemicals do in the human body? Do they really contribute to health, or might they actually be making people's problems worse? And if they are making people's problems worse, do I want to live that way? Do I want to do that for the rest of my life? Harm people for money? That's got a lot of negative consequences to it, karma to it. So I think the universe takes that into account of like, this person's not aware that they're actually doing harm and not helping people. Intention is really what's most important, but that doesn't change the fact that they are harming people. And so karma has to slowly make them aware of that. And then there's the extreme case where doctors know good and well that they're prescribing poisonous drugs to people that are getting them addicted and stuff. And they're doing it anyways because they make great money. I think that's the exception, not the rule with doctors. But this is the landscape we have to become aware of in the day and age we live in. We live in, unfortunately, a insidiously corrupt world only because everything has become a profit model. And that's why money is the root of all evil. When money becomes more important than the actual virtue of the thing itself, aka helping people be healthy, then it gets corrupted to the negative polarity. And it's just like we've said, right? It's just a matter of, once I am aware that this is a negatively polarized system contributing to separation and not oneness, do I want to continue supporting that system? And so that's why spiritual awakening, true spiritual awakening, has to and must correlate to an awareness of the world you live in. Like, it's not spiritual to just sit in your house and meditate all day and be totally oblivious to the world around you and the levels of corruption that you're committing every day, contributing to. The world is here for a reason, right? God created a world for you and I to live inside of, to be our reflection. And so all of the greed in me, all of the greed in all of us is being made manifest in these corporate systems and for-profit models. And so shadow work is equally the internal stuff we do to meet our darkness with love and awareness, and the external, which really isn't external, right? But the world, to meet those things with love and awareness. And as the Course in Miracles says, right? Anything that isn't love is a cry for help and healing. So we definitely shouldn't look at the corrupt systems in our world and say, evil, shame on you, you bad, bad people. Because we're that evil. We created it as a collective. But we should say, wow, all that corruption is really a cry for love. So how can I be a response to that cry for love?
Yeah, and of Course in Miracles, they say healing is a correction, which I really love. Course in Miracles is so good and so radical.